Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fanfellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven. I'm matching your voice for some reason. Your assistant to the regional Hayden and lover of all things magical.
What I was going for there was a mixture of like pilot announcement and grandpa. So
Okay. I think you nailed it.
I think I hit the right notes
You hit
there.
it right on the head. Well done.
And we are here today to dive so deep
Yes, queen.
into chapters 55 through 58 of Brandon Sanderson's The Hero of Ages. Now, a quick reminder that I am serving as your professor of all things Sanderson to not only you, dear audience, but also to Steven here, because he has not read the first Mistborn trilogy before.
That's right. Hey. Getting close, though. But this podcast will only have spoilers for the chapters. We read each episode, which means if you have finished Well of Ascension and are almost done with Hero of Ages, this is the podcast for you.
We are also so excited to remind you that we are a part of the Fantasy Fangirls fan club. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means for $8 a month, if you want to directly support this show, you now have the opportunity to do so. You're going to get all kinds of stuff. You'll get a private Discord channel. Ooh. You'll be added to our close friends list on Instagram. You'll be able to join us for live Q&As every single month. And best of all, you will not only get every single episode of Fantasy Fanfellas a day early, you'll also get it ad-free. So if you want to support the show, go ahead and check out the link in the description to join us for all of the fun.
And if you call right now, nothing will happen other than the perks he just mentioned.
Oh, that is such a relief,
like
Steven. You've been promising a lot of stuff to these people.
You're giving away your glasses and blood and body sweat. Today, you just get to relax.
Deed to my house, yada, yada, yada.
Perf.
Now, we also want to remind you that there are some Fantasy Fanfellas merch that you can check out. We have lots of fun shirts with inside jokes. We have mugs, all kinds of stuff. I just did a fresh order of the new collection. There's Steven modeling the mug, the OG mug right now. You can also get a pig and ship mug, which I almost got today, but I held off for now. I may have to get it later.
It's also scratch and sniff. It smells like shit. That's not true.
God, I didn't know that.
That's not true.
So if you want to get some merch, go ahead and check out the link in the show notes as well. And one last thing before we get started here, wanted to remind you guys to go ahead and check out the newest show under the Fantasy Fangirls Media Network, Fantasy Fan Reads. What is that show? Well, it's a show hosted by Jess from the Lost Books of Jess on Instagram, where she talks to authors, where she talks to weird people like Steven and I about the love of cozy things and books. And Steven, I believe you're recording your episode soon, right?
Allegedly.
Okay, so we're going to see that might be coming to a podcast platform near you. So if you like cozy things, if you like nice people like Jess, go ahead and check out that show wherever you get your podcasts. Whew. Okay, Steven, it's your time. Please burn your medals.
Ka-chink.
And let us know from your perspective what happened in chapters 55 through 58 of The Hero of Ages.
Chapter 55, Ellen is worried about life. Hashtag most of us. He's also in his head for most of the chapter. Hashtag most of us again. And he decides to give up. Hashtag once again most of us. But then the mist spirit shows up, still not talking, so Ellen tells it to write it down. So the mist spirit scribbles some words in the ash, but unfortunately the mist spirit writes words it didn't mean to write, like a drunk text to an ex-girlfriend. Because remember, Ruin can manipulate any text not engraved in steel. So they play a game of foggy charades, then the spirit goes away. Chapter 56, the epigraph tells us that the mist spirit was preservation, and I was so right about that. Let's hear it, Hayden.
Steven. I'm going to say it once, and I'm probably going to be saying it again this episode. You were fucking right, okay?
Oh, well done me. Now we are back to Spooky Poo. He is currently mapping out plans on a chalkboard, and no one can read it because he only writes in pig Latin, apparently, and then gives Sazed a lesson on faith and hope. And Sazed realizes he has none of it, like an American in 2026. Chapter 57, Vin is going insane like Zane, hearing voices in her brain. Hashtag bars is what Vin is behind because she's still a prisoner. Anyway, she has a conversation with Ruin, and then we learn that she is his beautiful destroyer, which happens to be the title of this section in the book, and I was also right about that, Hayden. Then he tells her that preservation is dead, but he can't truly be dead if humans are still alive because each of us has a little preservation inside of us. Chapter 58, it's time for Spook to take down the citizen. So, with the voice of Kelsier, who keeps telling him to kill people, for some reason, he gets to the citizen and is about to kill him. But his sister, a.k.a. Spook's love interest, Miss Flower, garden lady stops him with allomancy, and then Kelsier tells Spook to kill her. As a negative Ghost Rider, love is in the air, and then Spook realizes that the sword tip in his body is what has allowed him to burn pewter, and I was right about that too, Hayden. Let's hear it.
And I think, first of all, you're right, and I think this is a wonderful lesson for all of us. Even just the tip can be dangerous, Steven.
It's also the reason he can see the imposter Kelsier, which I was right about once again. And the citizen apparently has a piece of metal in him and can see imposter Kelsier as well. And I was kind of right about that too when I said he may be a good guy under the influence of ruin. So, Spook pulls out both shards from himself and the citizen, and the imposter Kelsier disappears quicker than that weekly paycheck in this economy. And then the city begins to burn, and Spook runs into a burning building and pulls the lever on a machine and collapses into the darkness. And that's the end of that section. And the next one, I didn't skip ahead on purpose. It's just because that page is right there. The next section is called Truth. But I was right about Beautiful Destroyer. I said at the beginning, I said, maybe it's talking about Vin.
All right, Steven, it is time for us to don our mist cloaks and dive so deep.
Yeah, it's Queen.
Into this set of chapters. Steven, please give us the epigraph for chapter 55.
By sacrificing most of his consciousness, Preservation created Ruin's prison, breaking their deal and trying to keep Ruin from destroying what they had created. This event left their powers again nearly balanced. Ruin imprisoned, only a trace of himself capable of leaking out. Preservation reduced to a mere wisp of what he once was, barely capable of thought and action. That's me, after a long workday, actually. These two minds were independent of the raw force of their powers. Actually, I am uncertain how thoughts and personalities came to be attached to the powers in the first place, but I believe they were not there originally. For both powers could be detached from the minds that harnessed them. So it sounds like we're not going to learn why they became personas or people. Because if this person has all the wisdom from the past events and they don't know, I guess we won't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's more that I think we'll talk about a little bit later in a different epigraph here related to this. But I think this is bringing a lot of clarity to... I mean, we had this big question about the prison that Ruin was in, right? It was in this pool, and why was it there? Who was keeping it imprisoned? Turns out it was most of Preservation's power, and so that's why Preservation has been running around like a ghost, basically, and is only able to play charades, essentially, whereas Ruin, who still has their full power, is able to change all of this stuff that's not written in steel, is able to physically manifest, and this is also interesting as well, because we know that Reen was appearing in Vin's mind from the time that she was very young, or at least when he first left, which was before Ruin was released, and Ruin was able to do that because at least a little bit of its essence was able to leak out of the prison.
I was thinking about this today. Everybody that we know of that's chatted with Ruin, and Kelsier ends up being Ruin, unfortunately. Last episode, I saw that coming, sadly. Yeah. I wanted it to be Kelsier, but there's no way it was going to be Kelsier. Right. That was just a pipe dream. But anyway, the only people that have been able to chat with Ruin have been the ones that have a spike in them. So
that's right.
Vin has no spikes. And as far as I know, she's the only one that's chatted with him who doesn't have a spike.
But interestingly enough, we have seen Vin kind of realize that she's kind of been Ruin's main gal, basically. She has been the puzzle piece that Ruin has been kind of guiding through all this. So maybe there's some inherent connection that Vin has to Ruin more than other people?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure that out because we have... As far as I'm concerned, we don't have any breadcrumbs or ideas to why she's able to chat with him unless I missed something along the way. Maybe she stepped on like a metal Lego when she was a kid and got stuck in her foot, and that's how she's able to... I have no idea. But it's odd that she's the one person that I know of that can access him without using hemalurgy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, we are in Elend's POV. Elend walks his way home with 30,000 new Koloss marching behind him. And Elend is left to his thoughts as he walks, quote, how had he thought to fight an Inquisitor on his own? Kelsier himself had barely been able to defeat one of the things. Vin had killed 3 now, he thought. We took them on together, but she was the one who killed each one. He didn't begrudge her the abilities she had, but he did feel occasional glimmers of envy. That amused him. It had never bothered him when he'd been an ordinary man, but now that he was Mistborn too, he found himself coveting her skill. This is interesting because He's very aware that he is feeling some kind of jealousy or resentment towards Vin for her natural proclivity with allomancy. But it's not like Ruin is talking to him directly. This is just coming from the pressure of his current situation.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, at the begin in the first book, we learned that Vin has the power. She has more power than Kelsier because she is as if she was the people of old. Like, I guess kind of like Elend is now, because he's the one that took the bead.
She's very potent, basically.
She's potent when it should have, through breeding and whatnot, should have been diminished. So that could be another reason why she's able to access Ruin. But then again, I guess Elend would be able to access him as well.
Yeah. Then his thoughts turn to Vin being captured. She always escapes. But what if, this time, she didn't? He trudges on, the ash from the ash mounts, going up to his waist in some places. I think this is a really interesting moment because as readers, just in our mind's eye, we just kind of envision the world with, like, you can see the ground, it's all normal. But the ash is always there, and it's a really good reminder that it is very
black.
Inconvenient. Yes.
It's black. It's not white. It's hard for me to visualize this world. Because I keep just going to what I think it's going to look like, and then I have to be reminded, oh, it's black and it's ash and it's everywhere.
Right. Yeah. But it's just interesting because, like, when I think of these scenes, I'm like, oh, Elend's walking. No, he is trudging through essentially hip-deep ash. So it's like a good reminder
soot,
for
really.
us.
It's like fireplace soot.
That's right.
I have a fireplace. That stuff gets everywhere and doesn't come off easy. Just imagine walking through that.
Frustration in him grows. This is all just too big for he and Vin to solve on their own. Quote, "We are doomed," he thought. Behind him, the Koloss stopped their march, waiting upon his wordless order. That's it. It's all going to end. The realization wasn't crushing. It was gentle, like the final tendril of smoke from a dying candle. He suddenly knew that they couldn't fight, that everything they'd done over the last year had been pointless. He falls to his knees, giving in. Same. And someone kneels next to him. Quote, "And then, burning tin and squinting in the darkness of the ashen night, he finally saw it. A creature of mist. It wasn't really composed of mist. Rather, it was outlined in mist. The random shiftings suggested its figure, which was roughly that of a man. Elend had seen this creature twice before. The first time, it appeared to him in the wilderness of the Northern Dominance. The second time, it had stabbed him in the gut, leaving him to bleed to death. So, a little bit awkward, but...
It does mention in this chapter that Elend's thoughts most of the chapter. It says, oh, he stabbed me because he wanted Vin to take the power and save me. So he understands why it happened, I guess.
Yeah. Still kind of awkward.
Still an open wound, or a new wound.
Literally.
Yeah.
The mist spirit stares at Elend and points to the southeast, back towards Luthadel. But Elend has no patience. He asks it to point out what it is trying to say. And it does. Quote, "I will kill you," the word said. "Death, death, death." And then Elend says, "Well, that's pleasant."
I love that part. And then it says that it just like the mist spirit sinks down defeated because, once again, anything that's not written in steel can be manipulated. And Ruin's just like, I just imagine Ruin over here just messing with his typing. Like, loser.
Yeah, exactly. He's catfishing them, basically.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Stephen, you can't trust what he writes.
Yeah.
So he asks the spirit to make exaggerated letters in the air. Okay, we're getting closer to charades here. But it's still muddled. So Elend knows that Ruin is right there with him. They move to a new system, hopping up and down for yes, which is very crude, but also kind of cute, honestly. But the mist spirit doesn't seem to like it, so it moves to just waving its arms around like this. Quote, "Are you weaker than you were before?" Elend asked. The thing waved its arms. Okay. And by the way, I'm about to go through quite a few quotes here, but there's just like so much information that I got.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that doesn't really help Elend in the end, but it's nice to have the confirmation from this mist spirit.
Yes. Is it because the world is ending? More waving. Are you weaker than the other thing? The thing Vin set free. Waving. A lot weaker? It waved, though it seemed a bit disconsolate this time. Are you related to the ash? He asked. No motion. Are you causing the ash falls? No motion. Is the other thing causing the ash falls? This time it waved. We're actually getting a lot of really good info from this.
Yeah, I guess we are, yeah. But these are the things that he already kind of assumed. He's just getting the confirmation.
Right. Is it causing the mists to come in the day too? No motion. Are you causing the mists to come in the day? It seemed to pause in thought at this one. Then it waved about less vigorously than before. The spirit begins to fade, harder to see. You pointed southeast. Did you want me to go back to Luthadel? It waved with half enthusiasm again. Do you want me to attack Phaedrex City? It stood still. Do you not want me to attack Phaedrex City? It waved vigorously. He asked the mists. They're connected to all of this, aren't they? Waving. They're killing my men. It stepped forward, then stood still, somehow looking urgent. Ellen frowned. You reacted to that. You mean to say they aren't killing my men? It waved. This is interesting because
I guess this is an answer that we don't know, or we didn't know, rather. The mists we thought were killing people.
Right.
And we thought it was 16% of all people, and it was something to do with ruin.
Right.
But he said the ruin is not causing the mists.
Well, it's killing people, and it's making some others sick. And then lastly, as the spirit disappears, Ellen asks one last question. Can we beat it? Can we survive? Stillness. Then the creature gave a brief wave. Not a vigorous one, but hesitant, uncertain. It evaporated, maintaining that same wave, the mists becoming indistinct and leaving no sign that the creature had been there. All right, Stephen, please give us the epigraph for chapter 56.
I don't know why Preservation decided to use his last bit of life appearing to Ellen during his trek back to Phaedrex. From what I understand, Ellen didn't learn much from the meeting. By then, Preservation was but a shadow of himself, and that shadow was under immense destructive pressure from ruin. Perhaps Preservation, or the remnants of what he had been, wanted to get Ellen alone. Or perhaps he saw Ellen kneeling in the field and knew that the Emperor of Men was very close to lying down in the ash, never to rise again. Either way, Preservation did appear, and in doing so exposed himself to Ruin's attacks. Gone were the days when Preservation could turn away an Inquisitor with a bare gesture. Gone were the days when he could strike a man down to bleed and die. By the time Ellen saw the Mist Spirit, Preservation must have been barely coherent. I wonder what Ellen would have done had he known that he was in the presence of a dying god, that on that night he had been the last witness of Preservation's passing. If Ellen had waited a few more minutes on that ashen field, he would have seen a body, short of stature, black hair, prominent nose, fall from the mists and slump dead onto the ground. As it was, the corpse was left alone to be buried in ash. The world was dying. Its gods had to die with it. Holy crap. So this is confirmation that the Mist Spirit, first of all, is Preservation. I had different theories about Preservation. I said it was Kelsier. I said it was Ruin. I said it was this, that, whatever. I eventually landed on it's probably Preservation, and for some reason he can't talk, and it's because of the power imbalance.
Yeah.
But it says there's a body. Now, I think to this point, I can assume pretty confidently that Brandon Sanderson puts details in his book that should not be overlooked. So the fact that it says short of stature, black hair, prominent nose, why would he add these features in this if it's not relevant and I shouldn't already know about it?
Well, and you'll remember that there was a mention of whether it was, I believe it was either Marsh or another paragraph about the body of Ruin being hidden. We did not get any description. Whereas with this, it's like, okay, this is literally a human body that is associated with Preservation in some kind of way.
So I'm assuming, is this like the previous Lord Ruler?
No, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's not that.
I don't think, it couldn't be, but I was just trying to figure out what is the purpose of this, the explanation of the features of this person.
Well, and so if we're looking at the order of operations here, right? Ellen's talking to the Mist Spirit. The Mist Spirit disappears and kind of fades away and is like, it's clear that it's dying. And then a few minutes later, a physical body out of nowhere falls to the ground and dies.
Huh. So we don't know who this is. Do you know who this is?
Oh, I know who it is, but
okay. So at this point I could piece something together.
I think there's still some information that you just don't have that it would be kind of.
But this is an
hard.
important note.
Yeah, absolutely.
These okay.
Absolutely.
Also, I don't know if this is a plot hole, but let's go with it. Here in a little bit, we find out that Ruin his job is to ruin, thinks we already knew this, but everyone who's ruining anything is basically working for ruin. This is what he tells Vin, and we'll just assume that he's telling the truth. Maybe he's lying. But anybody who's causing any sort of destruction, whether you think you're on the good side or the bad side, you are working for ruin. Death is ruin. Preservation is preserving. So the point I'm making is, in this epigraph, it says, gone were the days when preservation could turn away an inquisitor with a bare gesture. Gone were the days where he could strike a man down to bleed and die. This sounds like the work of ruin, bleed out and die, because it's not preserving anything.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I guess a situation where preservation would do that is probably if there was a spike in them and Ruin was directly controlling them. I think what Ruin is really saying when he says, oh, you're working for me, is because, remember, humans are of ruin, quote unquote, because...
no, humans are of preservation.
Well, Ruin claims that they're of ruin. Preservation and ruin created them together, because preservation can't create things without ruin. And so what ruin has said to Vin, for example, is like, your inherent nature is of ruin, and so you're going to help me whether you want to or not. You can't control it, essentially.
But everybody
trying to give them some kind of sense of helplessness.
It's kind of I love the fact that a lot of this is like a philosophical take from Brandon Sanderson playing with ideas. You can kind of not attribute it, but you can place it in the real world. Like, human beings are really good at trying to rid themselves of the earth, in that we just destroy everything we touch while
we're
trying
doing a great
to preserve,
job of that.
yeah, we're trying to preserve our life, but we're just emitting like carbon emissions, and we're just causing all these horrific things, tearing down forests, and we're really good at almost dying.
Yeah.
While under the banner of life preservation.
Well, and we have this like natural drive to, take, essentially. Like, we want to colonize everything, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, manifest destiny. I mean, looking back to the birth of our nation, it's like, it's in our very DNA, to your point.
Yeah, and then the wars that exist around the world, it's an us versus them type of mentality. We're really good at, under the banner of self-preservation, basically trying to eliminate ourselves.
Right. All right, before we get any hate comments, we're going to move on. We are now in Spook's POV. Spook ponders how to expose the citizen, to get him to use almancy in an exposed public setting. As he schemes, he can't help but smile. He really feels like Kelsier now. Beldre approaches wearing a dress, something that she hasn't done in a few years, because remember, the citizen was like, hey, nobody's allowed to wear those like frilly, super showy dresses that the nobles used to wear. Their conversation turns to the citizen and Spook's plans. But of course, Beldre reminds Spook of the inconvenient fact that he promised he'd try not to kill her brother. She presents the idea of sending him a letter, which I'm sure will work. And Spook agrees, as long as he can read it beforehand. They're interrupted by Gorodel, telling Spook there's something he needs to see. All right, now we are in Sazed's POV. It looks like the citizen soldiers that had been standing watch over their hideout have just up and left, which seems good. But what if they left menacingly? They all separate, and Sazed goes off on his own, sulking as usual. Quote, it seemed to him that the end of the world would be a time when men found faith, not a time when they lost it. Yet the little time that he devoted to studying the religions in his portfolio had not been encouraging. 20 more religions eliminated, leaving a mere 30 potential candidates. So, Sazed is running out of options here.
Yeah, and I liked how they added a quantity to this. Okay, he's got 20 down, 30 to go. Also, he's a big buzzkill in this book. He's got moments. It's still the same Sazed. Still like this character. Yeah. I think he's going to play a potential large role. I said as much in the last episode. But for now, he's a big buzzkill. And there's other characters that have had harder situations happen that are still
my
going.
girlfriend died.
I mean, it's terrible, Sazed, and we all feel for you, but freaking man up for just 2 seconds. Get your shit together, okay? Other people are hurting just as bad.
So it's funny that you bring this up, because in interviews in the past, Sazed has said many, many times that he had to rewrite, essentially, Sazed's storyline for Hero of Ages because...
You mean Brandon Sanderson said that?
Mm-hmm, yeah. He had to rewrite Sazed's storyline because he felt like depression is a really difficult thing to portray in literature because it makes you want to be inactive. And so he had all these Sazed POVs where he's depressed and he's not wanting to participate or be a part of any of this and not caring, and it made him feel like a passive character. And so what he did was he added this journey that he was going on to go through the different religions, so at least he had something that he was working through during his POVs.
Yeah, if you were, I guess if he was to accurately represent depression, it would not be as fun of a read.
Right.
But I
right.
mean, it's still an accurate representation. He's just adding he's also being productive in one sense.
Exactly. Sazed's reflection is interrupted yet again by Spook, who tells him that the soldiers left because of riots in the streets. Things are getting a little testy in our Tau. The plan is working. Spook is jazzed, but Sazed is a bit of a downer, like you were saying, because he's like, yeah, it's cool that we're making progress, but people will die and the sky is basically falling, so what's the big deal?
Chicken Little.
Yeah. He catches himself, though. Quote, "What am I doing?" he thought, horrified at his outburst. "Is this what I've really become? During most of my life, I resisted the Synod, rebelling against my own people. Yet I was at peace, confident that I was doing the right thing. Now I come here where people need me most, and I sit around and snap at my friends, telling them we're all going to die?"
So he does have a moment of self-reflection and realizing, okay, I'm missing the mark for who I am as a person here.
Right. Right. But that's the difficult thing about depression, because you can realize that that's happening and still feel the exact same way that you are.
It's not a motivating thought, but they do crop up.
Yes, and then you start spiraling even more because
it makes you more
yourself.
depressed. Oh, I suck for more reasons than I thought previously, and blah blah.
But Spook has some wisdom to share as to why he thinks it'll all be all right. Quote, "Faith," Spook said, "means that it doesn't matter what happens. You can trust that somebody is watching. Trust that somebody will make it all right. It means that there will always be a way." I mean, this is something that Sazed would have said even just a book ago.
Yeah, but I think, unfortunately, Spook is getting his information from the wrong source, because we find out that the person, the reason he has this confidence is because he thinks he's talking to Kelsier, and he thinks Kelsier is a god. So he's subscribed monthly payments to
he's on the Patreon,
the Church of Kelsier. He's on their Patreon. He's on their whatever. But so he's getting this new confidence and religion from the wrong source. So it's a good message, but it's not based from a good source, if that makes sense.
The chapter ends with this, quote, "Yes," Sazed thought, "that is what I have lost, and it's what I need to get back."
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Ruin is the one chatting with Spook. And I thought that there was I'll just get to that later, I guess. But I'll say, even Ruin, in his attempt to ruin the world, is accidentally motivating Sazed into figuring out how to stop the world from ending.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Stephen, give us the epigraph for chapter 57.
"I have come to see that each power has three aspects: a physical one, which can be seen in the creations made by ruin and preservation; a spiritual one, in the unseen energy that permeates the whole world; and a cognitive one, in the minds who controlled that energy. There is more to this, much more that even I do not yet comprehend." Three aspects of power. It's like the Trinity for those Christians out there. But you have a physical one, unseen that permeates, and then a cognitive one.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit, essentially?
Yeah, we have physical, spiritual, and cognitive. And this is something that is very, very relevant to the Cosmere as a whole. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but as you continue to go through the Cosmere, Stephen, this is going to be something that is essentially foundational to the way that things work.
Okay, because the Cosmere is one universe.
Yes.
With different planets.
Yes.
Or realms, or whatever you want to call it, but it's the same universe.
Yes. And so there are different principles that are fundamental to the very universe that they exist in. That's all I can say.
Right, but this particular magic system, burning metals, is not in all of the places, right? It's just this one area.
Right. I wouldn't say that it's about the magic system per se. It's kind of...
They each have their own little magical...
Yeah, it is
whatnot.
Talking specifically about the powers that these gods have. Okay, we are now in Vin's POV. Vin is stuck in her cell with the world's most annoying cellmate. Ruin, who just will not shut up. He keeps telling her to kill the passing guards the entire time.
He's like the younger brother, just, I'm not touching you, not touching you, not touching you.
He's like, I'm not killing you, I'm not killing you, I'm not killing you.
I mean, why can't he? Well, we'll save that, I guess. But Vin comes to that conclusion, like, he could stop me if he wants to. He finds me weak in this cell, which is why he's giving me this information, but we'll get to that in a second, I guess.
Interestingly, though she has no medals, she can still feel the Koloss she's controlling at the edge of her mind, and she wonders if she can use them to maybe get a message to Elend.
So she's still in control of whatever Koloss she was in control of.
Yeah, it's kind
Even
of
after
like
being drugged and carried to a different area.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like when you like pair a controller to a gaming console or something. It's like that's going to stick around. Basically.
Yeah, it's some sort of a tether.
She's got Bluetooth on the Koloss, basically.
I mean, it's essentially the same thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Or the bond, if you will, from Akatar.
Right. Yeah, true. She tries, but it doesn't work. But maybe she can keep working on it. It's not completely useless, it seems. Ruin appears to her suddenly, still in Reen's body. Quote, I'll admit that I'm disappointed in you, Vin. The last time you were captured and locked away without medals, not a night passed before you'd killed the Lord Ruler and overthrown the Empire. Now you've been soundly imprisoned for what, a week now? He's such an asshole.
Yeah, the only reason he said that was to get under her skin, seemingly.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's just picking on her at this point. Yeah, step on my head while I'm drowning. Kick a girl while she's down, why don't you?
And again, it brings up at least killing Yeoman, which is weird. Why would Ruin want Yeoman dead when it's the one that is like seemingly working for Ruin? It responds, quote, you still don't understand, I see. You're all on my side, Vin. I created you. You're my tools, each and every one of you. Zane, Yeoman, you, your dear Emperor Venture. No, Zane was yours, and Yeoman is obviously misguided, but Elend, he'll fight against you. But he can't, Ruin said. That's what you refuse to understand, child. You cannot fight me, for by the mere act of fighting, you advance my goals. Again, this is the thing that I was talking about, where yes, humans were created by Ruin and preservation. Let's also keep in mind that Vin and everybody else, they don't quite understand that yet.
Right.
So Ruin is saying, hey, you can't, even if you try to fight against me, because you are of me, you are inadvertently going to be working towards my goals. There is no hope.
Yeah. I mean, even the magic system itself is a push and a pull. It's kind of like this Ruin versus preservation. But as we were talking about earlier, just the simple, he says specifically, you cannot fight me, for by the mere act of fighting, you advance my goals. So any form of ruining anything is siding with Ruin. That's what I'm saying. Even if the good guys who think they're killing for good reason, in this book at least, are still working kind of with Ruin. It's not because Ruin is evil, and you established this a couple of episodes ago. You mentioned it, I think. It's not a matter of good versus evil. It's just these facets of life exist, and we must work within them.
Yes. Think of me as a caretaker, the one who watches the shop and makes certain that the lights are turned out, that everything is cleaned up once closing time arrives. But Vin still has a little doubt in her head if this is all really true. If the battle was already lost, why would Ruin care about her so much? She thinks, quote, it's gloating. That's why Ruin is here, because it wants to make certain someone understands what it has accomplished. At that moment, Ruin stopped being an it in her mind, and instead became a he, which is really intuitive from Vin, because we just learned in this last epigraph that there is a physical personification of these gods.
And according to that epigraph, we're not sure why an entity has attached itself to a way of life, I guess.
Right.
Who knows why and when this
or how
particular thing became sentient.
Yeah.
But here we are. And judging by the corpse left by preservation's demise, it has to do with humans.
Yeah. Ruin does think it's won, not against just Vin and Elend, but perhaps over some other force. Vin thinks back to Kelsier's words. Allomancy is all about consequences. So, Vin asks Ruin, what did you do to him? Your opposite. And Ruin says, and this is kind of bone-chilling, preservation is dead. We get a reaffirmation of something we learned in previous epigraphs. Quote, you couldn't create it yourself, could you? The world, life, you can't create, you can only destroy. He couldn't create either, Ruin said. He could only preserve. Preservation is not creation. Again, they created humanity together.
Yeah.
And so you work together. Both with a promise, Ruin said. My promise was to work with him to create you, life that thinks, life that loves. In return, I could destroy you eventually. All of this is missing something, though, Vin thinks. Quote, but something is keeping Ruin from destroying the world now, she thought. For all his words about stories and endings, he's not a force that would wait for an appropriate moment. There's more to this, more that I'm not understanding. What is holding him back? I really like this line of thinking, because if Ruin's inherent nature is to destroy everything, if it could do it right now, it absolutely would. But there is still some little sliver of something that's holding it back.
And what is the purpose of visiting Vin in the cell? Is it just to gloat? Or is it to try to accomplish something else? So none of this is really making sense, and Vin thinks as much.
Yeah. Ruin finally reveals that the end is coming. In days, but not in weeks. So
good, because I need to know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, thank God.
All right, so there's a lot in here.
Yeah.
Preservation and Ruin created humanity together. We kind of already knew that, but now it's verbatim. Don't know why he's with Vin right now. He could be doing other things. I mean, also, it says in the previous chapter, Ellen comes to the conclusion that Ruin is with them. So whenever the Mist Spirit exposes himself, I guess with each exposure he becomes weaker.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's my thought, because at this point, I mean, if I remember correctly, it kept being harder and harder to see up to the point it just vanishes. Because it does say whenever Preservation exposed himself, it exposed itself to Ruin's attack. So maybe he became a little bit weaker every time, which is why you only see him every now and then. And he couldn't talk, and which is why he was doing charades. But anyway, the point was, Ellen thinks that Ruin is with them. So can Ruin be really any place at once?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, he's very omnipotent in that sense.
Well, we've actually gotten confirmation from Marsh that it can't be really everywhere at once, because remember how like Marsh would kind of give in to Ruin's control until he felt Ruin's eye essentially not really on him, and then he would kind of think for himself for a minute. So it's not quite omnipotent.
So do you think it's safe to say that if he's appearing to Spook as Kelsier, he can't also appear to Vin as Reen? So it has to alternate.
That's a good thought. I don't want to say like 100% because I feel a little iffy on that, but it does seem like in terms of like manifesting directly, we don't really have any way of knowing that he's done it as Kelsier and then as Reen at the exact same time. So like my guess would be that there is that kind of limit on him.
Okay. All right.
All right, Steven. Give us the epigraph for chapter 58, which is perhaps my favorite chapter of the whole series so far.
Yeah, this is where I get a lot of confirmation in how awesome I kind of am. Unfortunately, I am the Lord Ruler. Here we go. Once you begin to understand these things, you can see how Ruin was trapped even though Preservation's mind was gone, expended to create the prison. Though Preservation's consciousness was mostly wiped out, his spirit and body were still in force. And as an opposite force of Ruin, these could still prevent Ruin from destroying, or at least keep him from destroying things too quickly. Once his mind was freed from its prison, the destruction accelerated rapidly. A couple of epigraphs ago, it says that the power balance was essentially a real balance because Ruin was locked away.
Yeah.
And he couldn't talk to really or he couldn't have the same effect on people he does now. And the Mist Spirit was Preservation running around and not able to talk. So it was almost balanced. But I like the way it says, and as an opposite force of Ruin. So these are forces. I couldn't find the word earlier, but it's forces. Similar to the magic system, push and pull, force. Everything is a force, an opposition.
Yeah, and I think this also touches on the previous epigraph that we just read. So it was saying, essentially, creating the prison destroyed Preservation's consciousness, the cognitive side of it. But its spirit and body, the other two aspects, were still intact. So it still existed. It was just a much, much watered down version of it.
So it destroyed which aspect of the three?
The cognitive.
So it had no ability to think.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to have kind of thought.
Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, yeah.
Okay. So it used that aspect of itself to trap in Ruin.
Yeah.
And by being freed, it collapsed that third of itself.
Yep. Okay. We are now in Spook's POV. Sazed is giving a little project management update on the water situation, and things are nearly ready to go.
I'm just going to say, I don't care about the water situation. It becomes kind of relevant in this chapter. It's finally somewhat relevant, but I don't give a shit about the side quest, okay? It's like when you're trying to go do a quest in a game and you just always walk past the side quest and they shout the same one line, hey, I could use help collecting these apples. And then you walk by, hey, I could, you know what I mean? It's so annoying. I don't care.
Or it's like when I take my car to the mechanic and they're like explaining what happened to my car and I'm just like, I completely gloss over. Exactly.
Tell me how much it is and shut up.
So anyways, everything is going to go down tonight. Spook then chats with Beldre, who as usual is putting just a little bit of doubt into Spook's mind. Quote, "It amazes me that you can be such different people at the same time. How can the man who would do such a beautiful thing for my city also plan such destruction?" But Spook's response is that he simply does what needs to be done, which is such a classic answer for anyone who's doing the wrong thing.
I gotta do it. Once again, in his mind, he's chatting with God, Kelsier. But you're right. I gotta do what needs to be done. Yeah, but you're murdering people. Somebody's gotta do it. It's hard work, but it's honest work.
Yeah. Spook leaves her, and he hears her sniffling as he walks away. The crew heads out to the city, where Quellion is going to make a speech officially denouncing Spook and ordering an attack on their base. Dern has a sobering line for Spook before things kick off. Quote, "I just hope you can handle this, lad. Once this night is through, the city will be yours. Treat it better than Quellion did." And this is such a great reminder because in all of this, it's very easy to forget that Spook has no experience in leading an entire fucking city that is on the brink of collapse.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Also, I'm more curious now about Dern as a character. When we first meet him, he's kind of just doing things for himself, but he seems to be on the good side.
Right.
So I don't know what is leading this particular person.
He has some level of care for the greater good, but he's mostly kind of out for... Yeah, I guess, true. Spook sets up in line of sight to watch Quellion, but he gets word that the riots have started early, burning the city, ones that Dern hadn't planned, so things are kind of getting out of control. Spook hears Kelsier's voice, quote, "It was a night not unlike this one, a glorious night, when I took the city of Luthadel and made it mine." Now, remember, this is not how Kelsier would have talked about that night.
Yeah, and up to this point, well, up to the last episode we recorded where he's in the bar, Spook is in the bar getting all this attention from dudes.
Yeah.
And Kelsier's like, "You deserve it." That is the moment where I realized, okay, this is ruin. Because before that, I even made this 2 episodes ago. I said, this is preservation. Yeah. And then the other person is ruin. But they're both ruin. They end up both being ruin. But it turned me off when he said, "You deserve this." First of all, Kelsier wouldn't say that. Second of all, that's not a good thing to say, especially in this situation. And then I would like to go back and reread everything this fake Kelsier has said and just figure out, I should have caught this a long time ago, especially with the shard in his body. I should have immediately said, "This is ruin." You kept
mentioning it, and you're like, but maybe it's preservation.
Yeah, it was more like a pipe dream. Like, I want to see Spook be a good guy. He ends up still being a good guy, but I wanted to see Kelsier again. I mean, all the puzzle pieces were there to say this is ruin, but I was fighting against myself the whole time, as if I have a spike in me.
Yeah. Then Goradel's soldiers charge the stage, engaging Quellion's guards. It's Spook's moment. He leaps onto the stage, wanting to goad Quellion into being forced to use Almancy. He fights with a pewter-using guard, and Spook tells him, "Your family is freed. You don't have to serve Quellion anymore." It makes the guard hesitate for a moment. But then, Kelsier tells Spook to kill him, and instinctually, Spook acts, hitting the guard on the skull with his cane, killing him. Now, this is kind of the moment where I'm like, oh no. Is he just full-on gone at this point?
Spook?
Yeah.
Well, here's what the question I had. Why can Spook not be controlled? And I think it's because this particular spike is not in the right location.
Right. I think that's like a pretty good guess, all things, because there's so much about like hemalurgy that we don't know exactly. So I think that's a really good guess about why that is.
Because earlier in the book, Marsh is talking, or Ruin is talking to Marsh and telling him exactly where to put the spikes. But maybe if you have any spike in you anywhere, then you are able to access this particular voice, or this entity. Because the citizen himself has a spike or a shard. It's in his shoulder, though, which is, I don't know if that's a pressure point or not. It's relevant.
Well, and we've seen we've seen with, I can't remember exactly where it was, but with Penrod, has just a tiny sliver of a thing,
But
and it's in his
he's
heart.
unable to pull it out because it'll kill him. So
Yeah.
it seems like those are the spots where if you pull it out, you will die. But the ones that, because we're skipping ahead kind of, but Spook pulls out his shard and he pulls out the citizen's shard, and they're both still alive.
Yeah.
If it would have been a well-placed spike, then they would both be dead. Also, once again, I should have known from the beginning, Spook was stabbed through another person
Yeah.
into his body, and it broke off,
Yeah.
and then he's able to burn pewter. I should have said, this is hemalurgy. This is obviously ruin. I missed the mark. I was right. I got there eventually, but I should have been there from the get-go.
Hey, it happens to the best of us.
I mean, a win's a win. It's just a long road.
Spook reaches Quellion and holds him, raising his weapon, but he hears Beldre calling out, begging him not to do it. At Kelsier's prompting, Spook prepares to do it anyway, but all of a sudden, something pierces his shoulder. A coin. Not sent by Quellion, but as he turns, he sees Beldre's hand raised. She's the Allomancer. It was never Quellion. It was her all along.
Yeah, there's a big moment. Quellion, a.k.a. the citizen, we thought he was the Allomancer because it seemed that way when Spook was stabbed with this sword shard, whatever it was, and became basically a Inquisitor. So we thought it was Quellion, the citizen, the whole time, and then we find out that it's his soft-handed sister. So I missed that too. Probably should have seen that coming, but I guess I didn't. When she walked into their camp, she had ideas. She still kind of did it wrong because it mentions she still doesn't know what she's doing, although she is an Allomancer. And she did good at hiding that.
Yeah.
So she had something in her mind planned for the reason she basically imprisoned herself in their care, but she was still kind of ignorant of a bunch of things.
Right. Kelsier appears to Spook in the flesh. Quote, "You kept waiting for an assassin. You didn't realize that Quellion had already sent one, his sister. Didn't it strike you as strange that he'd let her get away from him and enter the enemy's own base? She was sent there to kill you. You, Sazed, and Breeze. The problem is she was raised a pampered rich girl. She's not used to killing. She never was. You were never really in danger from her." The crowd noticed the allomancy, though, enraged that Quellion spared his sister while killing so many others. Kelsier tells Spook to kill her. You want to be a better Allomancer? Well, power must come from somewhere. It is never free. This woman is a coin shot. Kill her, and you can have her ability. I will give it to you.
Now, this is not the moment where I realize it's ruined. This is the moment where Spook realizes something's up, girlfriend. This is not who I thought it was. Because there is no way the guy I followed would tell me to do this to this person.
Exactly. Spook rips off his eye bandages and looks out on the city. The fires aren't for rebellion. It's destruction. Suddenly, though, Quellion reaches out toward Kelsier. He can see him, too. "My lord Kelsier, why have you forsaken me?" Kelsier wants Spook to kill Beldre with a spike, then lodge it through his own chest, which is gruesome, by the way. I could never do that myself.
No, I mean, I obviously couldn't do it to the woman I loved either. So, but definitely not just anybody in general. But here's the thing: I was trying to think, why is Ruin working with Quellion and Spook, and they're working against one another? But judging by what Ruin said to Vin, they're not really working against one another because they're still ruining stuff.
Right.
So together they are
Destroying together.
And he may have different options. Like, this is option A, Quellion's going to do these things. This is option B, Spook's going to do these things. I mean, he's switched around a lot through the lifespan of Vin, seemingly, to try to free himself.
Yeah.
So either way, they're both on his side.
Yeah. Spook is coming to his senses. He goes to Quellion and rips off his shirt, revealing a bronze spike in his arm. When Spook pulls it out, Kelsier screams. Spook knows now this is not the real Kelsier for sure. Spook grabs his glass dagger and digs the bit of metal that's lodged into his own shoulder. Kelsier vanishes, and so does Spook's pewter power. Fatigue overtakes him for a moment. He can't even think. But then, and this is where my chill count goes up, Stephen, because this was amazing. Quote, her city is burning. Blackness. Thousands will die in the flames. The mist tickled his cheeks. In the cacophony, Spook had let his tin dim, relieving him of sensation, leaving him blissfully numb. It was better that way. You want to be like Kelsier? Really like Kelsier? Then fight when you are beaten. Lord Spook, the voice was faint. Survive. I just think that is so sick. I love it.
Who said this?
So it's a great question. I don't
It sounds like
know.
Sayzed, because he's the one that calls him Lord Spook.
Right. But there's like you want to be like Kelsier, really like Kelsier, then fight when you are beaten. That's in italics. So that's an internal voice somewhere in his head. I don't know if that's someone speaking to him or if that's just like his subconscious, like speaking to him. But it's not Spook.
I don't like that. Do you know what it is?
I genuinely, I'm not sure.
It may just be
not
his.
sure.
Well, it could be a nice parallel because previously the voices in his head were somebody else, and it was somebody who didn't have his best interest in mind. Now it's his
Right.
own confidence awakening after this
Right.
moment. That would make more
Right.
sense.
And what I love about this the most of all is like the idea is that what was Kelsier called? The survivor of the pits. And what Spook has been trying to emulate is become this legend just like he did, the survivor of the flames. But the most important part of that was not to become some idol that people, love. It's simply about surviving. If you want to really be like Kelsier, all you have to do is survive even when things get really hard. Because remember, Kelsier was tortured, his wife died, everything, but he kept smiling. He kept surviving.
Yeah, but he did die in the end. So if you really want to
son
be
of a
like
bitch.
Kelsier, sacrifice yourself. is what-
Shut up, Steven.
If you really want to do what he did, you got to sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
We all die, okay?
That's kind of what he
Every-
does, though, because he runs back into the burning building, which we're going to find out about shortly.
Yeah, exactly, Steven.
So you're right, and I'm right. We're right together.
Spook rises, flaring tin, and Sayzed is there. Spook says that they just need the water to come in order to put out the fire. It'll happen. But that's when Beldre reveals that, oops, she attacked the guards that were watching her with coins, so there's nobody back at the base to make sure that the water does in fact flow.
So this entire water side quest doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It's just there. There's a glitch in the system, and we can't even play the side quest.
God. Spook moves into action, commanding Quellion to organize the people to prepare to fight the fire if he can. He and Sayzed start back to the base, and Spook pushes forward, wanting to atone for everything he's done to this city. As he goes, he notices someone moving ahead of him, and he's pretty sure that it's Sayzed. But at his side is Beldre, tending to his wound and propping him up, because she's sorry for betraying him. Is this something that we're going to forgive her for, you think?
Betraying who?
Beldre, she betrayed Spook. She was the Owlmancer the entire time. They come upon the Ministry building, and guess what? It's on fire. Sayzed says they need water. Newsflash. But Spook knows that would take too long. So, instead, he starts stumbling toward the fire. But it's too hot. He falls back. He has failed. Okay, quote, Spook allowed them to pull him away. Sayzed was right, of course. He was just a man. Just Spook. Kelsier had chosen his crew with care. He'd left a note for them when he died. It had listed the others, Vin, Breeze, Dachshund, Clubs, and Ham. He'd spoken of them, of why he'd picked them, but not Spook, the only one who didn't fit in. I named you, Spook, a voice says. You were my friend. Isn't that enough?
Another thing right here. What is this voice?
I know.
Is this Kelsier for realsy poo?
I don't know. But it's an incredible moment. It really, is.
He doesn't have ruin anymore, unless he stepped on a nail as he was walking into the house.
He's got tetanus now, and
He's got a rusty nail in his foot and ruin in his mind. I don't know. Maybe
he's like,
this is
after
just-
all that.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's safe to assume right now, unless there's something crazy happened, it can't be ruined because he doesn't have some kind of spike inside of him. Everything we've learned so far is that essentially preservation, for all intents and purposes, is dead and has not been able to communicate with people directly into their minds to this point.
Yeah, but everybody has a little preservation in them.
True.
So maybe
True.
maybe it's the accessing the true self within.
Right.
I don't know.
With that, Spook rips free from Sayzed and Beldre and runs to the building, and as the pain becomes too great, he extinguishes his tin, going numb. I think this is such an interesting moment because this entire time, remember, Spook has kind of developed this, like, over-reliance on tin, and it makes it to where, like, the world is too much to bear. But essentially, he was burning tin for continuously for a year so that when he took away his 10, he wouldn't be so starved of stimuli, essentially. And Sanderson remembers that from the beginning of the story, and it actually becomes a tool for him to be able to run through the fire because he can't feel it anymore. He stumbles through the lair, fire consuming him, until he reaches Sazed's mechanism. The chapter ends with this, quote, "His fingers no longer worked enough to grasp it, but he threw his weight against it, moving the gears as required. Then he slid down to the ground, alone with the cold and blackness." And that is the end of part 4.
Great ending to that section. And like I said in the beginning of the episode, the next part, or I guess it's the last part.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if it's the last part or not, but the next part is called Truth. So I think this would have something to do with Sazed, just to go ahead and throw that out there, because this is the one thing he's been searching for through the entire book is the truth, and he's on this quest for truth. So I'm assuming this is going to be about him. We'll see, though. Well, but what was this lever that he pulls?
This was essentially the thing
quest?
that activates the mechanism to get the water out. And somebody was not paying attention to the science lesson from Sazed, clearly.
No, I tune out when I hear about the water side quest. So I assumed it had something to do with the water because Sazed just said, "Oh, the water, we need it." And he was like, burning building. So, and then he just passed. Obviously, Spook's not dead. I'll go ahead and prophesy that. He's not dead. He may be a little scarred up from the flames, but this will further his lore in front of other people. He is, once again, the survivor of the flames.
Yeah, I mean, my impression of you, how you've consumed this book so far, Stephen, is that Spook's storyline has been the most compelling to you to this point, I think. How would you say, how satisfying is this kind of end to his storyline for this book?
Is it the end?
Well, but in terms of, like, he's gone through all of this, and whether you think he's dead or not, I mean, it certainly seems like he's leaving us on a cliffhanger that he could be dead. So, like, in terms of him reaching that full circle moment, I mean, do you feel like this is a satisfying conclusion to this saga within this city?
If he's dead now, no. If he, I don't think he's dead, though.
But if he was dead, I mean, he really did the thing. He kind of stood up to his limiting beliefs and sacrificed himself for everybody else.
Yeah, but nobody dies at the end of a part in a book.
Oh, that's not true at all. Zane died at the end of a part in a...
Yeah, but I wanted him to die.
Okay.
And it was a fulfilling, we know he's dead kind of thing.
You're not playing along. I wanted you to say something else.
Fine, let me say something a little more stylish. Yes, I think this is a great full circle moment.
Thank you.
I do like Spook's story. I was kind of hoping that was Kelsier. Obviously it wasn't, and I should have known from the beginning it was Ruin. I do like how he was able to recognize that and then choose the right thing rather than be corrupted by this power, as so many have. So I think he's had a good moment. So if this is the end of his story, I guess that's good. I don't think it is, though.
And it may be not the end of his story, but it is kind of the climax of his story arc.
Well, not necessarily. If he has more confidence now, then maybe there's more to offer. He's no longer a contestant for Hero of Ages, though. Because the whole thing I was relying on was just the fact that maybe Preservation was talking to him or Kelsier. But since it was Ruin, it's definitely not him. In my head, at least. I think I'm going to go with it might be Sazed, just simply because I think this is the next part of the book, or the last part, and it's called Truth. Maybe Sazed ends up being God somehow, which would be a weird parallel. He searched for God for 3 books and then found him in himself somehow. I don't know how that would work out, but it'd be an interesting thing.
Okay. All right, Stephen. It's time for us to give our winners and losers of the week. Why don't you go ahead and give us your winner first?
I'm the winner. I'm the winner this week because of all the things I got right.
Oh, okay. I don't think we've ever bestowed a win or a loss to each other in this entire show.
That is my answer, but I'll give you one so I don't sound like a conceited Lord Ruler, okay?
Okay.
I'll give it to Spook simply because he was able to recognize the corruption, and then he chose the right path. And then, I don't know what's going to happen to him, but he at least went into this fire thinking he would die. Pulling the lever to save his city. You can't really beat that. He went out like Kelsier.
To your point, even if he's not dead, he was prepared to die. That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah, and he even says it in the lingo he was thinking, or the thoughts he was thinking as he was running through the house. He knows he's about to die. He's just got to get to the lever. He pulls it, and then he blacks out. So he went out like his Kelsier.
Okay, and then loser of the week?
I will give the loser to Ruin. Actually, first I'll give it to Preservation because he's dead. Secondly, I'll give it to Ruin because his plans did not work.
Okay, fair enough. All right, my winner this week, just like you, is Spook. I just really think that this was an amazing, if not ending, at least climax to his story arc in general. He overcame everything, his insecurity, his guilt, and even ruin himself to become the hero that he really wanted to be all along. And then my loser, I'm going to go with Elend here, because if this guy would have just waited a few more minutes, he would have actually witnessed the death of preservation. And not necessarily it would have solved everything, but it would have been like, hey, wait a second, what was that? At least it might have been a clue to something else.
Well, he wasn't expecting a body. It's mist. He's just like, okay, the mist is gone now.
Well,
and he wasn't like, all right, let's wait and see what the mist left. No one's thinking that. I mean, we know that in hindsight, which is why we can bestow a loss on him.
Then it was unlucky, but still, if you're unlucky, you can still be a loser.
That's true.
All right, Stephen, give us just a few predictions for the last part of this book, I suppose.
Like I said, I think Sazed will end up somehow becoming the hero of ages. Maybe he becomes the truth or finds the truth. I don't know, but the next section is about him. I think maybe he's the one that remakes the world just because of a couple of clues here and there. I don't know. I don't think it's Vin. I don't think it's Ellen. I don't think it's Spook anymore. I think... I've said this before. I think Breeze dies, but he ends up sacrificing himself. I'll stick with that. Maybe he goes out a hero, because we've seen some cowardice in the last book, and now he's kind of back to his pompous ways. But he's also not in danger, so he's kind of he has reasons to be. I'm going to say that Kelsier somehow spoke to Spook, and there is an afterlife, and he was in it. Not because that's going to happen, but because I want it to happen. I didn't learn my lesson the first time I saw Kelsier, so let's just be wrong again.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
And then I don't think Spook is dead, like I said.
Yeah.
I think there'll be more to his story. Also, I said this in a couple of episodes ago. I think he and Beldre get together by the end of the book. And I think her and the Citizen will help the quote-unquote good side try to defeat Ruin, and they'll be a very pivotal part.
All right, everybody, that is it for episode 10 of our deep dive of the Hero of Ages. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week for chapters 59 through 64.
Also, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast platform. Share some frickin' clips on social media, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas.
And lastly, if you loved this episode and you have a friend who prefers to play charades by exclusively waving vigorously at you, then this is the perfect episode to share with them. Okay, see you all next week for chapters 59 through 64. Bye!
Ka-chink. Hello, buddy. I have to go to the bathroom first? What the fuck did I write?
It probably picked up you talking to your son or something.
It probably did! I did that when I walked in today.
That's going to be on the bloopers.
I was doing that as I was walking in. That's funny. Hey, buddy, I got to go to the bathroom first. Because he was talking about a game.